nothing's ever right. Now I want to make sure that there's no leftover chips or silver dust or anything in there, because it'll short out if there is. Okay. I will try this one more time. If not, I'm going to have to use one of the other ones, as much as I hate to. But if I have to, I have to. I think I told you guys before, I always shave off a piece of the case so I can just put it over this to help it a little bit, to stop it from any strands or anything from buckling over. It doesn't look just right, but we'll see what happens. This does not seem to want to fit. Well, it doesn't fit right, we know that for a fact. But am I going to be able to get it tight enough? That's the other thing. If this doesn't want to work, well then I'm just going to have to put the other one on there. Nope, it's not going to work. Alright, I got to do the other ones. Alright, that's fine with me. I'd rather have the other one on there. At least I know it's not going to short out. Let me make sure here everything becomes a chore. We'll make sure there's no chance in anything here getting over there. I want everything down and out of the way. Now I'll put my little sleeve over there. Make sure it's separated. Get this off here, because this one's not going to fit this one. Now this one is better than this one. This has a rounded edge on it. This has more of a square edge on it. But it's still not as good as the one with the white insulator. You know what? These damn reducers are not even the same. Yeah, the reducers are too long as well. Now, I almost swear I got those locally. Maybe not, but I think I did. If I did, he'll take them back. So the reducers are longer, and if they're too long, they're not going to work. So this is, again, this, you know, I gotta say that I didn't get him, because this other guy deals with all kinds of ham radio, and that's all he deals with. And he's got a good reputation, so he's not going to be going out of his way to sell junk. He's going to go out of his way to get everything right. So guaranteed, I did not buy those from him. because he would not be selling junk. Yeah, I know that for a fact, Armando.
The position of the baby is simply putting pressure on your sciatic nerve. You may return to your post.
The pain makes it difficult to sit for any period of time. It's really quite uncomfortable.
Elevating your legs when you sit to provide all the relief you need.
Perhaps a day of rest off duty.
Now,
According to your medical
I gotta do something here because I don't like that. See, this is another thing is, if you're gonna solder this, you want to make sure you get it so that you're seeing a lot of copper, not just one or two strands that you're going to connect to. And in this case, I'm not seeing a lot of copper, and I don't like that. So, and this is all because I don't want that one. I want this one. All because that reducer and that one connector, well, actually all the connectors are bad. Okay, so we're going to bring this down around. Now, there's a few things that you can do here. I don't know if I feel like looking into getting quite that striatinous or not. Sometimes. Alright, we'll try it. Let's see. There, I'm going to try it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to take off a little bit more. Let me get my needle. What do I do with my needle? My needle. Here it is. Let me kind of just unravel this a little bit. Now sometimes you can just bend it and pull it through. But this is a little bit different because it has a double shield on it, which makes it a little bit harder to bend and pull through. And I'll do a quick reamp on this also, you know what I'm talking about, in a minute. I never had so many problems before, but you know what? It's one of those things to when you just get something that's not right, you know, and it doesn't work, it just throws everything off. And in this case, those connectors. I never had connectors come in that were misthreaded and reducers that were too long for the connector. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is trim this little piece right here off. There. Let's get this reducer on here. I'm going to have to worry about this other piece in a minute, but for now, get rid of that. That's the extra shield. Do I have a little donut around here someplace? I know I did. There it is. Put that over there so I don't forget it. There. Okay. Now, this is something you can do, but it's kind of a pain in the ass to do. But here's what you do. You wrap this, you get as many of them, if not all of them. Make sure you get all. You don't want anything left out. I'm wrapping the shield up. Hold on a minute. Needle nose. I lost a pair of needle nose. Can you believe that? I lost a pair of these, the small ones. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slide this through here. So it comes out here, but I want to try to catch this. So I can pull it through the hole completely. Yeah. So I'm going to slide this in there. See if I can grab that with the needle nose. And while I'm pushing this in, pull this out. Alright, now you got the idea? Okay. So now, let's take this piece off so I can put it together. Now that I showed you what I want to do. Let's get this out of the way. Put a little tin on this. And now we're going to go for it. So, I want this. Get that one out of the way as well. I'm going to put it up here like this for now. Slide that through there, put that in there, so hopefully I can catch it here. Now I don't want to turn this, I just want to turn the reducer so it tightens up. And remember, I put that little bushing in there so I don't have to worry about it shorting out, hopefully. But I want the reducer to be tight. Using the right pliers would help. This is why you want to make sure you have your sleeve on when you're doing this stuff. So now I can take this, bend it over like so, and I got a good connection, I know, but at the same token now I can put some solder on that. But before I go any further, I want to do a quick test just to make sure there's no shorts. Now this is going really beyond what you would normally do. Okay, so this case or the ground portion, that is not touching the center. That's what we want. And we'll check it one more time once we put the solder on it. Okay. So now, let's put a little dab of flux in here. Flux! Flux you. Let me get the solder gun. And I'm going to have to go through my reducers and connectors. Now the reducer being a little too long, I can just put it on the sander. However, the threading of the connector, because the threads are wrong, because they're aluminum, they keep snapping. So that would be a problem. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, this is why you have to worry about this now, because we really don't want this to get too hot, because it'll start melting the case inside. I put flux on it already. Okay, that was smart. Alright, so I have a little extra. Gotta bring out the big boys. 230 watts on high power, 150 on low power. The tip will actually get red because of the bend. This tip has to be changed actually.
Number 18, Fifth Avenue, to the fall, possible reducer.
We did. But I became uncomfortable trying to find new ways to break the ice, as it were, that I restored. Let's just say it works for me. You notice?
A hologram supposed to sneeze?
Generally, no. But I have accepted your challenge. I programmed myself with the symptoms of the 29 flu.
Now that's the way they used to do it at Yale. Yeah. When my uncle worked on the Atom Smasher, that was the way they did it. See, this is why I normally don't do it this way. And even the other way. I mean, sometimes you can hit it right and it's fine. I mean, I've done it all ways. But I find just by putting the shield under the reducer, between the coax and the reducer, that it works just as good.
It just reminds me of another jungle guy visiting us. The Central Hard Rainforest. It's the only other place in the universe that I've ever seen this well. There appears to be a rare variety.
Because like I said, if this gets too hot, it'll start melting the shield.
I never knew you had such horticultural expertise, Mr. Hilton. In fact, I am, or more accurately I was, a breeder of prize
What I'm doing is I'm spraying the coax to try to keep the coax cool. I really don't want it to start melting it. Then you got to do it all over again. I don't feel like going through all that. You really don't. I don't know. In my opinion, it doesn't make a difference. You really don't need to do this. I mean, I really made a nightmare job while I get this done right now, but only because I had a problem with that one, the reducer, and I said the connector.
He says you are home, huh? I'm leaving the tribe, Mom. I got to know a lot of the Starfleet officers patrolling the Cardassian border. I asked Captain Sulu if he would sponsor me at Starfleet Club. But he would be such a thing about even discussing with me. I told him I had your approval. I guess I'm not far away from his
Okay, so let's check it again. Hopefully I didn't short anything out. And I really don't like doing it this way. It's a pain in the ass, first of all. Okay, so here to here, I should have it. Right, now from here to here, I should not. I don't. Now from here to here I should have it. And from here to there I should not. Okay. Now you hope that the reducer takes the blunt between the reducer and the connector, that it takes the blunt of it all. And as a rule it will, but you really got to pay attention, because sometimes you get carried away because you're looking for the flow, and the next thing you know, you got a nightmare on your hands. Okay. So something that was going to be an easy thing, just by putting a reducer on, or a connector on, as you've seen, turned out to be a blooming nightmare. Now, yes, some of it was me. Hold on, I'm just getting the case through the solder here.
Emergency beam out. Get me to sick bay. Acknowledge.
Alright. I'm going to unplug the solder gun. Where's the barrel? Where's my barrel connector? Oh, I put it away. Alright. Here we go. Barrel. So let's get this on here. Now, as a rule, you only want these hand tight. You really wouldn't be using this. Remember I was telling you earlier about connectors, and I don't care for this particular connector, this type, the one that has that brown. I forgot what it's called. I'd remember, I sure will. But these are just cheap connectors. These are connectors you can buy, you know, like a bag of 25 for like 15 bucks or something, you know. But they're not worth much more than that, to be honest with you, because they are junk. This is the one that I'm having the problems with. So I'm going to, the coax itself is good. Now, as a rule, the coax is not going to go bad. I don't need these cutters out here. Let me put these away. These. For coax to go bad, it's a lot. And most of the time, it's just a user problem. You know, or if somebody pins the coax. Now, that used to happen a lot back when. Especially if you were giving TVI to somebody, you know, interference, or if somebody didn't like you, what they would do is they'd pin your coax. And what that basically means is that they would take a needle, a pin, a needle, or whatever, stick it right through the center of the coax. So now it's hitting the shield as well as the center. And then they cut it off on both ends so that you don't see it. But meanwhile, you got a dead short. And you're going to blow up your radio if you continue talking on it. And that's kind of how that works. So they pin your coax. And then you have to try to find out what's wrong. So now you're looking, and you know, sometimes it's hard to spot. You can't see it at all. So you don't know if you've been pinned or not. And then hopefully if you do find it and it was a pin, you can cut that piece out and still have enough length of coax. But if that was to happen, you know that you have an enemy someplace, because coaxes don't just pin themselves. So.
How's it going down here? Not good. I can't get a response from anybody. It's like I can't talk. It's the same all over the ship. On my way here, I just see 50 people just sitting and staring.
Come on, get out of there.
Momentary interruption in the psionic field. Were there any indications that aliens somehow came on board?
I'll find out.
So meanwhile, what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to use this coax either. Well, I was. The coax is good. There's nothing wrong with the coax. That one connector was bad. It's just a lousy connector. I told you, I hate those connectors. I like the ones that have a white center instead of the brown center. Now they're still good, but I won't use them for anything that I really have to rely on. But I would use them still. So it's not that I won't use them, it's just that I won't use them where they're going to take any type of abuse. Or any lengths. You know, if anything I use these on will just be for little things. Like if I got to make a little jumper for a meter or something like that. But meanwhile, let me just clean off these two edges on this one. There. And let me go up here and get some 400. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. It might be 6. Oh, 3. Is that a 3-footer? Yep, here we go. Now this is a pretty good coax. This is a double shield. It's Browning. Now it's not the same company that used to make the Browning radios. But it does make a good coax. Times Wire is one of your better ones. Your LMs are not bad. There's a lot of good ones out there. You know, if it's double shielded and it's got the same, you know, 95% or 97% shield, 50 ohm, you know, the center, they're all about the same. Sometimes they put cheaper cases on them. Sometimes they use cheaper insulator between the two. But for the most part, they're all about the same. Some have more of a loss than others. That's why you want a good shield. A way of looking at the shield, kind of, the easiest way to put it is look at it as a garden hose. And a nozzle on the end for pressure. Hold on, I'm looking for it. There it is. There it is. Okay, white center. If you were to look at the shield as sort of like a the hose, and your signal that's going through the coax through the center of the hose, and the shield being the hose itself. What happens with that is that, hold on a minute, let me get something here so I can open this up. What happens there is, if you took a bunch of, if you took a bunch of I'm doing two things here and I'm losing my thought. If you poked a bunch of holes in the hose, the water pressure at the end is going to be less because the water is going to escape from the hose. Also, as the water escapes from the hose, it's going to make a mess. And everything around that hose is going to be a mess in some way, shape, or form. Well, you can look at that with a signal as well. Alright, the signal is going, I'm just speaking hypothetical here, you know, just to make things easy. Well, not hypothetical. I'm just speaking here to try to make things understanding. How's that? If the signal is coming through the center of the wire, like the water would be coming through the hose, and the shield is the hose. Well, if I start poking a lot of holes in the shield, like I would a hose, I lose my pressure coming out, which means I would lose my signal. My signal would be lesser coming out because it would all be escaping through all the holes in the shield, if it was a bad shield, that is. And now for the mess that the water is going to make as it's coming out of the hose, all the way down the length of the hose, all that muddy mess you're going to get is your signal that's escaping from the center, escaping out through the shield because you have a poor shield, and then that's going to start interfering with other things. And years ago it would be interfering with TVs and such because of the TVs and everything weren't like they are today, and cable wasn't all that big back then, and they say, oh, you're running dirty, you know, that type of thing. And it's basically how it works. Now, again, if you're into this, you're going to say, well, what are you talking about? Water hoses and shields and this and that. But if you're not into it, I'm hoping you understand what I mean. So when you buy a coax, you want to make sure that it has a pretty good shield on it. 95 to 97%. And it says double shield, that even makes it better yet. Okay. Now again, I want to put the sleeve on first, because I don't want to solder the end on and not be able to get the sleeve on. So always make sure you're getting a habit of putting the sleeve on. And then make sure you always get in a habit of tinning the wire, because it'll help the solder flow later.
I think I understand the basic principle behind her plan. How hard could it be?
Now, this one I'm going to do the other way. You know how usually I put when I put the reducer on, in this case it's a 176 reducer. They have a 176 and a 175. The 175 is for the thinner coax, 176 is for the heavier coax. And I usually pull the shield back and then I force the 176 over it all. Alright, that's one way. And I've done it that way for years, as well as this way for years. This way, I'm going to put this on, but I'm going to have to get my solder gun out and solder the shield, because it's not going to be pinched between the, come on, get in there. It's not going to be pinched between the reducer and the coax. So if I don't solder it, I'm not going to have a good connection, and I'm going to end up having problems. So that's what I'm going to do this time. I'm going to solder it to give you an idea on the other way of doing it. But for some reason, this reducer does not want to just thread on to this connector. Now sometimes the coax shield gets in the way of the threads, but that's not it in this case. I mean, I'm glad that it's tight, but it really shouldn't be this tight. No, it shouldn't be that tight. Let's take this back off. Either I got a bad reducer or a bad connector, and I'm not going to sit here and bother myself and go nuts with it. So let me get this out of here and find out. It should never go on that tight. Never, 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 never. So let me take this off here. See, those threads look all right. Let me see. Now see that connector that I just used, which is the one with the white, which is the ones I like best. These are a little bit more money, but that insulator is much, much better. So let me take the sleeve off here. So when I go back up to where I bought that one, yeah, see, it's almost like that reducer isn't working right. Let's see. Hold on, Daddy. I'll be right there. I'm looking for... I'm looking for a reason why this reducer does not want to fit into this connector. Now, I bought these connectors from eBay. And I bought the reducers from eBay. No, the reducers I got here in Connecticut. There's a place about a half an hour from here. And that's where I got those reducers from. So, I know they're good. But you know what the problem is? Here we go with eBay again. The problem is the threads. They're cut different. This is a standard thread. That is not. That's like almost like a metric thread, and that's why, because they're two different threads. So either I got to try to retap this to fit this one, and have a better insulator like I want, or use the cheaper one, because this will fit into that. See? Because the thread is right. What do I want to do here? Let's see. Let's see. Let's think about this for a minute. It's always something, guys. That's why I say. And whose fault is it? It's our fault because we settle for it. All right. Now I got to do what I got to do because we have to settle for it. Okay, so this looks like the right one. So if I take this one and force it into this one, I can probably get that reducer to work. Alright, let me see if I got a handle here to do this with. Hold on, guys. Okay. You know, when you buy cheap, then you don't mind. You can understand it. But when you're not buying cheap, well then, you know what? Shame on me. Now, I bought these on eBay. And I did pay a little bit more for them than I did the other ones, so I thought I was getting a good system, good connector. And they are, except for the threads are off, so they're seconds in some way or another. Right. But again, then I'm going to have to deal. And why isn't this working now? Come on, come on. Well, I can understand why this isn't working. This is Harbor Freight. I know a lot of you guys have a lot of luck with Harbor Freight, but every time I get something from them, I have nothing but problems. You know, and I don't think I abuse them or use them any different than anybody else. If anything, I'm using them less. Because I don't do it. How often have you seen me pull these out? Right? And already this one here is broke. I had to re-drill it and tap it to put another screw in there so I can hold the what you call it's in place. So, now this isn't the right way of me doing this, but it's aluminum, so it should work hopefully easy. Let me get a little Earl. A little Earl. 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 Oil. There we go. Now you want to make sure you get a good connector, and I have a problem with it. I find that amphenols are good. I've never had a problem with an amphenol connector. Now that doesn't mean they don't have problems. I'm sure people have problems with them, but I never seem to have had any problems with them. Now let's see something. Let's see something here.
Commander, there's something over here I think you should see.
There you go. Fits right in there. Okay, so that's the broken one. So now we'll try it with a good one.
Ready on the deck? There have been other visitors to this building recently. Yes, I'm kind of messy.
Well, it'll just keep the oil can down here, I guess. Until I'm done anyway.
They probably cut this down. The rubber tree people. Well, the closest thing to the ancient rubber tree people is what I'm saying. The people of this tribe are their descendants.
Let's see, is that going to go in enough? Let's see. Is it going to go in enough?
They've chosen to live like this for centuries. That's why we are traveling on foot and not using transport.
No, I got to go more.
We honor the sky spirits who led our ancestors to this sacred land.
Sacred land? Huh. The sky spirits must have taken a wrong turn somewhere.
So anyway, guys,
Maybe it's a blessing to the land.
For damaging it with the campfire. There is a basis for that conclusion. We'll just something somebody told me once.
It's another beware of eBay video. Even though I'm just trying to put a connector on. See how it takes time? Just time. That's all there is to it. Just eats up time.